Tell me about energy blindness.
Energy blindness is the fact that our society misunderstands energy and its role in our current living and our expectations. There are four aspects. One is that energy underpins everything in nature and everything in human systems. We need energy for everything. Number two, that we don't realize the scale of how much energy we use, effectively 400 to 500 billion human workers equivalent of fossil energy. The third is that this stuff is depleting very rapidly, and culturally we're treating it as if it were interest, but it's actually a principal, a bank account that is being drawn down millions of times faster than it was built up. And the fourth aspect of energy blindness is that when we burn all this energy to give us the modern conveniences and transport and consumption, there is a pollution and a waste that comes with that. And I think our cultural stories don't include any of that. And yet so much of our future and our expectations and institutions and culture depend on energy. So we're energy blind.
And I've sometimes heard you say that energy is the currency of life. Yes?
Yes, in nature, those organisms and ecosystems that have surplus energy have had advantages. So there's lots of things important in life, but if you don't have energy, you can't move or eat or do anything. So energy is the currency of life, and it always will be.
I fully agree on that. And so then, if energy is the currency of life, tell us about the carbon pulse.
Well, the carbon pulse began when humans started to discover first coal, then oil, then natural gas, and farm under the earth instead of on top of the earth. And if you look at a 300,000 year aerial view of our species, this little sliver of time where we're drawing down this ancient carbon and propelling our civilization using it can look like a pulse, like an EKG pulse that starts from nothing, goes to a high amount, and then goes back to nothing. And we're all living in the middle of that, probably near the peak of that. And that is another thing that's not included in our cultural conversations is, on a 500-year time scale, we're a couple hundred years into the carbon pulse. And what will the downslope of the carbon pulse look like? So I think this is an ecological deep time framing of the human cultural situation that is so prevalent in our lives, but we don't talk about it.
So if we are somewhere near the peak of this carbon pulse, what's the story with the economic superorganism? What is that?
So there are superorganisms in nature, like a termite mound or an ant colony, where all of the individual organisms collaborate towards a larger unspoken goal. So the human superorganism is not an actual biological entity, but what it ends up being de facto an economic superorganism that humans in this culture self-organize as families, as small businesses, as corporations, all the way up to nation states and the whole world to maximize profits. That is our marching orders by our culture. And those profits are tethered to energy. There's a 99% correlation between GDP, our economic output, and energy consumption, and 100% correlation to material consumption. And that energy is over 80% still tethered to fossil carbon. So what we're doing is rushing forward, trying to optimize profits and GDP. And we've built all of our institutions and expectations around that without any other plan. And what's happened is the momentum of that system, the momentum of that way of doing things is stronger than the individual wisdom and restraint that people within it try to imbue on the organism itself. In other words, we're in a runaway train shoveling more fuel into it, and there is no conductor. There's not a politician or a billionaire that can say, wait a minute, this is the wrong objective. We need to change it. So the superorganism is this metabolic system that is out of control, and all it wants is more, the lowest cost energy and other material things to power growth.